Welcome to the Deep Dive. You know how we operate. We take these incredibly specialized, dense, technical subjects, and we boil them down. We find the surprising nuggets of knowledge, the insights that can make you instantly well-informed.
And today, we are really stepping into a unique realm.
We absolutely are. It's a realm where excellence is, well, it's non-negotiable, where precision is measured in fractions of an inch, and where every single movement is a profound expression of respect.
We're talking about ceremonial honors.
Exactly. We're deep diving into the world of the honor guard.
Our source material for this is truly comprehensive. It's the Honor Guard Manual, 2nd edition. And this is so much more than a simple drill guide. It's a detailed, universally applicable technical document.
Written by John K. Marshall, who is widely known in these circles as the DrillMaster.
And he is perfectly suited for this. I mean, his background gives him a unique authority on the subject.
Oh, without a doubt. We're talking about decades of experience. 20 years in the USAF, and get this, 14 of those years were dedicated specifically to base honor guard training.
So he's taken that incredibly rigorous military standard and synthesized it, into something that can be applied across the board.
And that's the key, isn't it? The focus is on total standardization.
It is. This manual provides protocols for active duty, reserve, and National Guard, sure, but its real genius is in making these standards accessible and usable for civilian agencies.
Like police, fire, and emergency medical services units.
Exactly. His mission, as he lays it out, is creating these universal, standardized ceremonial procedures so that any organization can achieve perfection. It allows for seamless interoperability.
So our mission today is to uncover that extreme level of precision. We want to look at the historical insights that are woven into every salute and the surprising physical and mental choreography that's required.
Yeah, we're going to show you how a technical drill transforms into something more.
A universal language of deep, uncompromised respect.
And it's important to acknowledge Marshall's approach here. Because he spent years developing these training programs from the ground up, the standards are just intensely practical. They aim to establish a single, universal standard.
For everyone.
For every team. From a small volunteer fire department holding a joint service funeral all the way up to a major military base, they can all adopt this with the same level of commitment. We're not just, reading a list of rules.
No, we're trying to understand the commitment required to maintain this standard.
Exactly.
So let's start with that central idea, that philosophical question that really drives the manual. Why? Why mandate a single universal standard for procedures that have traditionally belonged to separate services, each with its own proud heritage?
It really all boils down to two things: professional capability and the solemnity of the event itself. The manual's core goal is making sure all Honor Guard teams can work together without any confusion.
Right. You have to imagine the scene. A massive multi-agency funeral for a fallen hero.
And you've got military, police, and fire honor guards all participating on the same field.
I can just picture it. If they have different paces or different salute counts or even just different command structures.
The whole thing loses its unifying, dignified impact. It would look sloppy.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing you want.
That sounds like a recipe for procedural chaos, especially when grief is, the main emotion in the room.
It is. But the manual also has to be very careful to respect established military authority.
Of course. They can't just overwrite decades of tradition.
And it doesn't. The manual is crystal clear on this. Active duty, reserve, and National Guard units must always adhere to their service's official manuals first. Those are the final word.
So this is a supplement then?
It serves as a vital supplement, yeah. It often fills in the gaps like advanced movement techniques or specialized uniform maintenance that might be too technical or just too specific for the main service manuals.
And for the non-military groups, law enforcement, fire, EMS, this manual basically becomes their foundational text.
It has to be, because those non-military groups often lack a formally written universal ceremonial standard of their own. Marshall provides them with a detailed professional resource.
So it ensures that even civilian agencies, who are so often the first responders being honored, can execute these honors with the same exacting military precision.
It levels the playing field of respect. That's a great way to put it.
Now, very early on, Marshall makes a really simple, but I think profoundly impactful decision about language. And it's aimed specifically at reducing the emotional discomfort for the next of kin, the NOK, during a funeral.
This is a subtle masterstroke of sensitivity, it really is. He mandates very specific terminology.
Like what?
For instance, instead of the term coffin, That word can carry some pretty stark, even older, morbid connotations for people.
Right.
The manual mandates the use of casket.
And what about the transportation for the casket?
They avoid the word hearse, which for many people is just loaded with negative associations and this heavy feeling of finality.
So what do they use instead?
The team uses the term coach.
Coach.
Yeah. And these shifts, they seem so minor on the surface, but they illustrate the manual's primary objective: eliminate any linguistic friction that might add to the family's grief. It's about making the ceremony feel as gentle and respectful as possible.
It's respect through vocabulary.
That's it.
And that focus on standardization, it extends into the organizational structure itself. It moves away from military-specific ranks that might be, completely meaningless or just confusing to a fire department or a police agency.
Oh, it's essential. For clarity and unity, you have to do this. If you have police chiefs and military sergeants and fire captains all on the same field,
Right.
using specific military jargon like NCOIC, non-commissioned officer in charge, or PO for petty officer.
It creates instant communication barriers. People don't know who's in charge of what.
Exactly. So what universal, non-rank specific titles does Marshall's system adopt?
They shift to titles that describe the function, which makes them instantly understandable no matter what patches on the uniform.
Okay, so give me an example.
You have the commander of the color team, or CCT, the commander of the firing party, CFP, and the commander of the pallbearers, CPB.
So it's about the role, not the rank.
Precisely. This ensures that the chain of command for the actual ceremony is streamlined, clear, and consistent across any organization that might be present.
And that standardization becomes incredibly important when you start looking at specialty units. Units whose primary ceremonial tools are fundamentally different from a military rifle.
Right. The manual actually references the experience of the McAllen Fire Department Honor Guard.
Yes, and that example just highlights the manual's practicality perfectly. The McAllen team leader noted that his units needed specialized outside training.
Why?
Because their ceremonial duties involve tools that are completely unique to their profession. We're talking about the ceremonial fire axe or the pike pole, not the standard rifle.
And since the standard military manual of arms, the precise movements for presenting and carrying a rifle, is totally irrelevant for an axe.
Marshall had to invent an entirely new standard for these tools. He had to create it from scratch.
He really did. The manual directly addresses this gap. It provides detailed, safe, and dignified movements and protocols for the fire tools.
So when a firefighter honor guard performs a right shoulder arms with an axe, it has to look just as controlled and respectful as when a Marine does it with an M14.
And that's crucial, because it ensures that these unique tools, which represent the firefighter's commitment and their heritage, can be handled with the same unwavering dignity.
It's the ultimate statement of inclusivity and precision. It doesn't matter what you carry. The level of honor must be exactly the same.
Okay, so we've talked about the philosophy of respect, but the execution of that respect is really defined by this minute, obsessive uniform precision. Let's dive into the staggering detail required, starting, quite literally from the ground up. The footwear.
The boots or shoes are everything, or the visual and the auditory foundation of the entire performance. They have to be highly shined, of course, and meticulously maintained, but the truly obsessive detail is the requirement for tacks.
Ah, the sound.
The sound. They are essential for producing that crisp, unifying sound during drill movements.
And this is where we learned that just any old taps won't do. It's not that simple. It's actually like a three-part sound system for your feet.
It absolutely is. The manual specifies 3 distinct tap placements, and each one contributes to the overall sound profile.
Okay, so what's the first one?
First, you need the standard horseshoe pap on the heel that provides the main resounding thlur or clack when the heel strikes the ground.
And
Then, you need a number 10 tap on the toe. This is for the snap sound you hear during specific facing movements when the toe pivots or closes.
And the third type, this one is fascinating.
Those are the side heel taps. They're often called cheaters or clickers.
Cheaters.
Yeah, they're these small taps that are affixed to the inside heel of each shoe. They're crucial because they ensure that even when you're standing completely still at attention, if a guard just shifts their weight slightly or executes a subtle preparatory movement,
You still get that sound?
you get that crisp metal-on-metal sound. It maintains the sharpness, the auditory readiness, even in stillness.
And there's a micro-level technical note on how to attach them. It's almost a warning.
Yes, because this is a common mistake. The standard screws that come with most taps are actually too wide. They run the risk of splitting the heel during installation.
Which would ruin the shoe.
It would ruin the structural integrity and the sound. The explicit instruction is to use thin black wood screws to ensure a proper, permanent attachment. The sound of a 90 beat per minute march is literally built on the secure placement of 3 distinct pieces of metal per foot.
It's incredible. And beyond the sound, the actual material of the sole affects maneuverability, especially during pivots.
It does, massively. The manual expresses a very strong preference for leather soles over any synthetic materials.
Why is that?
2 reasons. First, leather soles just facilitate facing movements better. They pivot more easily than rubber or synthetic soles, which often grip a ground too much and interrupt that smooth, fluid rotation.
And the second reason is more practical. It's for alignment, isn't it?
Correct. Leather soles can be built up easily. A cobbler can add layers, which allows the unit commander to minimize any slight height variations among team members. That uniformity of appearance is just everything.
And to achieve that visual perfection, they have to treat the edges of the sole just as meticulously as the leather upper.
That's the edge dressing. Dye or dressing must be applied to all parts of the sole and heel, every visible part.
And the reason for that is to prevent a flash of a light-colored sole.
Exactly. When the guardsman is moving or pivoting, you don't want to see the lighter color of the raw leather or cork. You want the foot to remain a seamless, dark block that enhances the uniformity of the line.
So you dress everything, except the taps themselves.
Right. The only parts you don't dress are the metal taps. For one, they're slippery enough already, but you also want to maintain their acoustic properties without a layer of polish muffling them.
Okay, let's move up from the feet to the clothing itself. The degree of permanent alteration required here is staggering. It turns a simple suit into a tailored piece of ceremonial architecture.
This is where the dedication becomes really obvious. You are essentially creating fixed geometry on the clothing. Members are instructed to sew permanent 1/8-inch creases into specific sections of the uniform.
And not just ironed-in creases. Sewn?
Sewn in, permanently.
And where exactly are these precise permanent creases required?
On the sleeves, they run down the front and back, starting exactly 1 inch below the shoulder seam. And crucially, the manual states you must avoid the actual front seam of the sleeve.
Why?
Because the seam itself isn't always positioned correctly to create a perfectly sharp, flat line. The crease has to be independent of the garment's construction.
And on the trousers?
The creases also go on the front and back of the trouser legs, running all the way up to the bottom of the fly. This ensures that the uniform fabric remains perfectly flat and sharp, regardless of how much the person moves. It removes any possibility of, a soft fold.
And the trousers are engineered not just for creases, but for maximum tautness. It sounds like they're trying to make them almost like a drum skin.
That's a perfect analogy. They are engineered for tension. To eliminate any visual ripple or wrinkle, members are instructed to first cut out and remove the inside pocket material.
Cut it out completely.
Gone, and then sew down all the pocket flaps. But the most significant step for achieving that perfectly straight leg is sewing an approximately 11-inch length of elastic band, about a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch wide, into the inside of the trouser legs.
And that band goes under the foot, inside the shoe, right? Like a stirrup.
Exactly. It creates a stirrup. So when the guardsman is standing at attention, that band is exerting constant downward tension. It ensures the trouser leg remains taut and perfectly straight, preventing even the slightest wrinkle or movement.
It's an invisible piece of engineering designed purely to maintain a perfect vertical line.
It is.
Now, for the ceremonial jacket or blouse. The process of securing this, which is known as blousing, requires a 3-person choreography. That sounds intense.
It is a precise drill, all to achieve a jacket so tight it cannot crease. The goal is to eliminate any excess material so the jacket appears perfectly cylindrical and stiff. The person getting dressed is called the blousey.
Okay, so what are the 2 blousers doing to achieve this rigidity?
Blouser 1 stands directly behind the blousey. They roll the excess material of the coat forward, pulling hard to equally distribute the tension and ensure there are absolutely no wrinkles or creases at the back.
And blouser 2?
Blouser 2 stands in front and pulls slightly at the bottom center of the blouse just to maintain that forward tension. They're working in opposition to Blouser 1.
And the final act is securing the belt over all of this.
Right. The blousey buckles the belt snugly over this top material. And the rule for proper snugness is that you should only be able to insert 1 single finger inside the belt at the front.
That is tight.
It's extremely tight. The manual humorously notes that if you can't breathe or move, you're almost there. The goal is maximum visual stiffness. The entire three-person process is dedicated to ensuring that the uniform maintains its architectural integrity when the guardsman is standing motionless.
Wow. Okay, moving to accessories. The shoulder cords, or aiguillettes, they also require a surprising amount of dedication just to keep them positioned correctly.
Yes, the cord, with its metal tips, has two main attachment styles,
Oh.
over epaulet or under epaulet. But the manual highlights a really common problem. If the cord is designed for a jacket without epaulets,
It's hard to keep it on.
it's very hard. Keeping it secured requires extensive hidden work.
And extensive work means what exactly? Safety pins.
It often involves strategic pinning, yes, but sometimes it even resorts to using large bent diaper pins.
You're kidding.
No. Which are then taped shut inside the uniform just to guarantee that the shoulder cord stays perfectly draped and doesn't pop out or shift during a sharp movement. It's a huge hidden effort just to maintain that one small, visible detail.
And the gloves. There's a specific requirement for pallbearers to ensure they have the best possible grip on the flag or casket.
Yes, this is critical. Pallbearers must use gloves without any silicone coating. That coating, the little dots you sometimes see.
Sure.
While it might seem like it adds grip, it can actually compromise the hold on fabric, especially the silkiness of a flag. They need maximum friction and control.
And there's a detail about how they're worn, too.
Yes, they are instructed to fold the glove inside the wrist so it rests precisely at the wrist bone. It gives a clean, tailored look with no bunching.
And the rain rule. That seems like a really important safety note.
It is. Do not wear white gloves in the rain. The manual warns that wet white gloves become incredibly slippery, and that increases the risk of dropping the colors or, God forbid, losing control of a casket or flag.
So the ceremonial aesthetic is secondary to security and control in bad weather.
Always.
And to round out the uniform, the necktie detail.
Uniformity and scale are paramount here. The double Windsor knot is universally recommended.
Why that one specifically?
Because of its size and its symmetry, a small, thin knot looks disproportionate and, as the manual says, terrible against the rigid structure of the uniform. And for military services, the rule remains absolute. No clip-ons allowed.
You have to tie the knot properly.
You have to tie the knot properly. This entire section just reinforces that perfection is built upon literally hundreds of tiny, uncompromising details. It's not just a uniform, it's a piece of kinetic sculpture.
It really is. Okay, so if the uniform is about rigid perfection, well, still, the drill is about moving with synchronized, deliberate perfection. Let's look at how the manual standardizes the most basic position of all, attention.
The manual details two methods, but it strongly advocates for the one that promotes stability. This is especially necessary for those long periods of standing perfectly still. It's called the closed foot method.
Okay, so how does that compare practically to the traditional approach that most people might picture?
In the closed foot method, the heels and the toes are together and aligned perfectly, forming one single line. The weight is distributed equally on the whole of both feet.
And that provides better balance.
Much better balance. It minimizes swaying. The traditional method, by contrast, places more pressure on the heels, which can make it harder to remain motionless for long periods. That pressure can lead to subtle, involuntary swaying.
Which is completely unacceptable in an honor guard performance.
Exactly.
So once the feet are set in that closed foot position, what about the rest of the body? What about the hands?
The body position is just as precise. Legs are straight, but critically not locked. You need microtension to keep the muscles engaged but not stressed to the point of shaking.
Right.
Hands are cupped, which means the fingers are slightly curved and held together. The knuckles must be parallel to the ground, centered precisely along the trouser seam.
And the head.
Head is erect. Eyes focus straight ahead, parallel to the ground. Every single muscle is engaged in creating this image of silent, powerful stillness.
That stillness has to be projected outward, and that begins with the command voice.
The command voice is an instrument of precision. It's not about yelling. It has three critical properties. First, projection.
From the diaphragm.
Pushing the sound from the diaphragm, not straining the throat. A good commander can place their hand on their stomach and actually feel those muscles engage when they deliver the preparatory command.
What about the clarity of the command?
That's distinctness. Commands have to be clearly enunciated. They often prolong the syllables to ensure there is zero confusion. Words must be formed clearly using the tongue, lips, and teeth.
And then there's the rhythm of it.
That's the third property, inflection, the clear rise in pitch and tone for the preparatory command, and then the sharp, powerful fall for the command of execution.
And the speed of the movements themselves, the cadence, is deliberately different from a typical parade drill, isn't it?
Oh, yes, very different. Honor guard cadence is measured at a very slow, deliberate pace, approximately 90 beats per minute.
And a standard quick time drill is what, 120?
Usually 120, yes. This slow tempo enhances the solemnity of the occasion. It allows every single movement to be deeply respected and observed by the audience.
Now let's get into the choreography of movement, starting with the 3-count about face. This is a specialized drill move, and it's used only when an individual needs to change direction, say, when taking a post.
This is a perfect example of dedicated precision drill. It's a 3-count move, and it has a great mnemonic. T, L, close.
Okay, break that down for us. Count 1, the T.
On count 1, the left foot is lifted and placed in front of and perpendicular to the right foot, forming a perfect T. The knees are slightly bent, and the arms remain absolutely rigid, pinned to the sides. The key here is maintaining perfect balance on the ball of the right foot while that left foot is placed precisely.
And the pivot on count 2, the L.
On count 2, the body pivots 180 degrees on the ball of the right foot. This brings the heels together to form a 90-degree angle, an L shape. But the left foot is still positioned in the air. The guardsman has to maintain their rigid posture throughout this rotation.
Finally, count 3, the close.
The left foot is smartly brought back to the right foot, and you resume the position of attention. The move must be silent and precise. This move is never executed in formation. It's vital for individual guards to assume their designated station with flawless geometry.
Okay, moving to group alignment. How does Marshall standardize the command for open ranks?
The manual includes a really important preparatory step to handle height differences quickly. It's a command called taller tap.
Collar tap?
Yeah. This instructs members who are taller than the person in front of them to literally tap that person on the shoulder. That person then moves up one position. This ensures a rough height alignment before the ranks are officially open.
That's clever. And then the full sequence follows, leading to open ranks, march.
Yes, the full sequence involves a series of prescribed steps and phases, ensuring the distance between the ranks is uniform and appropriate for the ceremony.
And for dressing the line, ensuring perfect interval, that side-to-side spacing, they use dress-right dress.
Yeah.
But the choreography is very specific to guarantee that interval is absolutely precise.
The procedure is designed for visual perfection. On the command, everyone except the person on the far right snaps their head to the right.
And then the hand placement.
They execute a specific hand placement. The left hand is placed squarely on the hip, fingers pointing down, with the elbow sticking straight out, parallel to the ground.
So you have a line of elbows pointing out.
Exactly. The team then shuffles sideways until they feel the light touch of the elbow of the person to their right. That physical touch guarantees the precise interval between each person.
And once everyone is perfectly spaced and aligned,
The member on the end calls, "Ready, front." And on that command, everyone snaps their head and their hand back to the position of attention simultaneously. It's a quick, controlled burst of movement to achieve static perfection.
so the color guard is often the focal point of any ceremony. What is Marshall's standardized composition? And maybe more importantly, what are the distinct roles within that 4-person team?
A standard color team always consists of 4 members. You have 2 rifle guards and 2 flag bearers. And they are always arranged from the right as you face them. Right, rifle guard, the national color bearer carrying the U.S. flag, then the state or organizational color bearer, and finally, the left rifle guard.
And the national color bearer is designated the commander of the color team, the CCT. So that makes it the position of highest responsibility.
Absolutely. The CCT must be the most knowledgeable member of the team. They are the field commander. They're responsible for the team's appearance, their performance, and calling every single command at exactly the correct time. They're the link between the troop commander and the team.
And the rifle guards. Beyond their ceremonial function, what is their symbolic duty?
It is clearly defined to protect the colors. Symbolically, this means defending the flag. Practically, they also assist with alignment, especially in high winds where the flag fabric can, blow around and obscure the bearer's vision. They help the CCT maintain that perfectly straight line.
Shifting to how the service flags are displayed, we have to address the Joint Service Order of Precedence. This is mandated by the Department of Defense.
It is. It's dictated by DoD Directive 1005.8, and it governs the order of appearance for the flags. And that order is completely non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard.
And the history behind that specific sequence is, as Emmanuel points out, incredibly complex.
Oh, it is, because the founding dates of the services are varied and they sometimes overlap, especially back in the Continental era.
Right. For example, why does the Marine Corps precede the Navy? Given that the Navy often claims a slightly earlier birthday?
The historical justification Marshall uses, which is the accepted protocol, is based on the concept that the Marine Corps, established in November 1775, was designated as a force in readiness,
Meaning?
meaning they could organize and commission their officers quicker than the larger Continental Army or Navy could fully structure itself. They were ready to go first.
So the entire parade order, down to a single flag, is based not just on simple founding dates, but on an organizational philosophy of readiness and early federal cohesiveness. That truly underpins Marshall's entire goal of perfection, doesn't it?
It really does. It shows that tradition and historical context dictate every single visual element of the ceremony.
Let's move to the physical specifications of the equipment, particularly the flagstaffs.
Ceremonial flagstaffs are standardized at 9 feet 6 inches for the standard 4'4" by 5'6" flags, and the manual is prescriptive. They should be 2-piece light ash wood.
And it says to avoid dark brown wood or chrome poles.
Yes, because they detract from the flag itself. The flag should be the center of attention, not the pole it's on.
And the ornamentation on top, the finial. This is a key area for correcting some very common myths.
Absolutely. The Army spear, which is often called a spade, is the preferred ornament, typically nickel or brass plated, and the manual is crystal clear on this point. The eagle ornament is not used by the Army, Marines, Air Force, or Coast Guard for the U.S. flag when it's carried by a color team.
And the reasoning for that is official regulation.
It is. Military regulations reserve the eagle ornament exclusively for the president or for stationary flags that aren't being carried alongside other colors. In a joint ceremony, all services defer to the Army's senior status, and they all utilize the spade.
Which ensures uniformity and adherence to the most senior services protocol.
Exactly. It's a detail that virtually everyone outside the military gets wrong.
Okay, let's explore the complex movement choreography that allows the team to maneuver in tight spaces. Describe the colors turn-on.
The turn-on is an inward rotation that's performed while the team is marching in place-marking time. It's designed to bring them to a halt facing the audience. The command is called on the left foot. The team must then take 4 steps in place while rotating exactly 90 degrees to the left.
So 90 degrees over 4 steps.
Yeah.
That means an exact rotation of 22.5 degrees per step.
Precisely. It demands constant timing and visual alignment with the CCT. After that rotation, the CCT calls the halt on the 5th step, the team takes 1 more right step, and then they slide the left foot sharply to the right, assuming attention.
The goal is to appear as a perfectly aligned static line the instant the movement ends.
That's the whole point.
And the colors turn-off is the reverse, but it's executed from a standstill.
It's a standing 4-count rotation, 90 degrees to the right, executed in place. The whole team rotates as a single block, maintaining their interval, and then they immediately step off forward on the 5th count, which is the next left foot.
Finally, what about the necessity of rippling when marching in column formation?
Rippling is the sequenced movement of transitioning the flags and rifles from one carrying position, like port arms, to another, like right shoulder arms.
But not all at once.
1 person at a time, initiated on every left step. This is a crucial automatic movement. It's necessary when the team is marching into or leaving a low clearance area. Think a low doorway or a stage arch. They have to sequentially raise or lower the flags and rifles to clear the obstruction without ever interrupting the solemn march tempo.
Let's transition now to the most solemn element, the funeral procedure itself. Let's start with Marshall's formal definition of the levels of honors.
The manual defines 2 primary types. First is the full honors funeral. This is the most comprehensive presentation.
And what does that entail?
It requires a troop commander, or TC, 6 pallbearers, which includes the commander of the pallbearers, an 8-member firing party, a full color team, and a bugler. This is typically used for individuals who served on active duty or held high office.
And then there's the modified honors funeral. This is for situations where resources might be limited, or maybe the deceased was a reserve component member not on active duty status.
Correct. It requires fewer personnel. A TC, typically 4 firing party members who often double as pallbearers, and then a flag folder and bugler. The number of people changes, but the standard of precision never does.
Now let's get into the incredible technical art of the flag fold. specifically the six-man flag folding sequence performed over the casket in the tabletop position. This is where tension and measurement are just paramount.
It begins with the initial horizontal rolls, which Marshall labels the 2.5s. This is absolutely fundamental to a perfect fold.
Tell us about the 2.5s, why that name?
The team executes 3 initial tight horizontal rolls toward the center while maintaining incredible tension throughout the flag. Each fold covers exactly 2.5 stripes of the flag's width.
And that precision is vital.
It's vital because it establishes the necessary tight, flat rectangle, and it positions the blue union, the stars, correctly for all the subsequent triangular folds.
So once that initial geometry is set, they need to remove any remaining slack before the triangles begin. And this is achieved through a formalized tug sequence.
The tug is a choreographed 3-second movement. 5 members, everyone except the CPB, slide their hands simultaneously to shoulder width apart. They then execute a synchronized, powerful pull or tug to eliminate every last bit of excess material.
The goal is a flag that is literally drum tight.
Drum tight, and the CPB's hands, which are positioned near the center, will only be about 10 to 12 inches apart during this process, maintaining that central tension.
Then the classic triangular folds begin. Is there a precise rule regarding the depth of that first triangle?
Yes, this is the critical rule of sacred geometry for the flag fold. The tip of the first triangle fold that enters the blue union should not pass the second star.
The second star. Why that specific measurement? What's the practical reason?
It ensures that the flag tapers correctly. If that fold goes too deep, say past the third or fourth star, it makes the final tuck of the loose end at the conclusion of the folding sequence incredibly messy and difficult.
And you won't get that clean, tight triangle.
You won't. You'll get a bulge or a loose corner. That second star is the marker for aesthetic and structural perfection.
Once the complex folding is complete, the resulting triangle must be visually perfect. And that duty falls to the fold member, who performs the final inspection.
Right. The fold member takes the flag, holds it to their chest, and critically, their head must be down. Their eyes are focused solely on the flag. They are looking for one thing.
No red or white showing.
Absolutely no red or white material showing. If any is visible, they have a brief moment for a silent, internal manipulation to correct the issue and ensure the flag is tight and flat. This is the last chance for correction before presentation.
And then comes the formalized presentation via the separate flag dressing sequence.
This is a distinct, multi-count, slow-motion procedure designed purely for the professional presentation to the troop commander. It involves precise rotations of the flag, pausing to check alignment.
It sounds like an intricate, silent dance.
It is. It includes a final sweep of the hand across the front of the fold and a clockwise rotation until the top point of the triangle is directly in front of the folder's nose, parallel to the ground.
And the final transfer to the troop commander.
The folder lowers the flag into the troop commander's waiting hands, ensuring their own left hand is on top of the fold and the right hand is underneath. It's essentially sandwiching the flag for a clean, professional handoff. The entire sequence, from the 2.5s to the final tuck, is a dedication to perfect geometry.
Let's conclude this section with the casket watch protocol, which has its own movement mnemonic.
Yes, the key to remembering the precise movement pattern of the guards and the watch commander, or WC, upon entry and exit is the mnemonic, V in, L out.
V in, L out.
The guards and WC enter in a V formation toward the casket, and upon exit, the relieved guard and the new WC form an L shape.
Describe the initial setup for the watch.
The watch guards and the WC enter the room, assuming port arms. They march toward the casket in slow time that required cadence of 60 to 90 steps per minute, which ensures solemnity and silence.
And then
They halt within 4 steps of the casket. They execute a slow 3-second present arms salute. Then, both guards step off simultaneously to their post positions at the head and foot, execute a 3-count about face, and assume stand at ease. The WC then departs silently.
And during the changing of the guard, there is one rule that powerfully demonstrates where the focus of the ceremony must lie.
Yes. The guards should not salute each other upon the transfer of duty.
Why not? That seems like standard military protocol.
It is in other contexts, but here they only render a salute to the flag or to the deceased. This is a critical departure from routine protocol, and it ensures that the focus of respect is kept strictly on honoring the veteran, not on the military exchange of rank. It's a powerful visual statement.
Okay, the manual's goal is universality, and that required Marshall to develop technical manuals of arms for equipment that is way outside the traditional military sphere. like the fire axe we mentioned earlier.
The movements for the ceremonial fire axe and the pike pole had to be meticulously developed because the balance and the weight distribution are completely different from a rifle. The axe usually features a lighter brushed aluminum head, thankfully, but safety and aesthetics were absolutely key.
What were the main challenges Marshall had to overcome when creating dignified movements for these, frankly, awkward tools?
Well, safety was paramount. For example, any shoulder position, like right shoulder, had to be developed so that the sharp or heavy axe head was not positioned right next to the ceremonial guardsman's ear.
Obviously.
Aesthetically, Marshall had to ensure the movements didn't look weak or awkward. He noted that trying to mimic the rifle movement directly often led to bending the wrist when transitioning the axe to port arms, which just looked undignified. The resulting manual ensures these tools are handled with strength and control.
Regarding standard military equipment, the manual lists the main rifles used by honor guards.
The historical workhorses, the M1 Garand, the M14, and the classic M1903 Springfield.
And for safety and logistics, the manual clearly defines positions for moving these weapons around.
It does. Carry arms is the safe position for carrying an unloaded rifle when transitioning between ceremony locations. It's held straight up in the right hand, secured tightly by the arm against the body.
And when a firing party must lay down their rifles, perhaps to then serve as pallbearers, the drill movements for that also need standardization.
Marshall prefers the ground arms and take arms methods, especially for firing parties equipped with M1s or M14s. This is a precise drill where the member steps out with the left foot, flares their hand, and rotates the weapon counterclockwise to lay it on the ground, muzzle facing away.
And that's preferred over the old stack arms method.
It's considered quicker and more fluid than the stack arms method, which is sometimes used with M1903s or M16s where you build the little tripod.
Now, let's tackle the most commonly confused point of protocol, one that is absolutely critical for the listener to understand: the difference between the 3-volley salute and the 21-gun salute.
This is a point of absolute clarity in the manual because it is so often misstated by the media and the public. Firing parties fire 3 volleys.
3 volleys.
3 volleys. This typically involves 7 service members firing 3 rounds each. It is emphatically not a 21-gun salute, nor should it ever be called a 21 rifle salute, which does not exist in protocol.
So what is the deep historical origin of the 3 volleys? Where does that come from?
It is rooted in an ancient battlefield custom. In previous centuries, during a battle, fighting would pause so that each side could clear their dead from the field.
And the firing was a signal.
The firing of 3 volleys into the air was the signal that the dead had been properly cared for and that the side was ready to resume the battle. It is a profoundly specific, historical act of respect for the fallen.
The 21-gun salute, conversely, is reserved only for high honors, and it's fired using large ordnance like artillery, typically by the Army or the Navy.
Exactly, and there are strict rules of precedence for the 21-gun salute.
And what are they?
The 21-gun salute is reserved exclusively for the president and for foreign heads of state. Other high-ranking officials receive corresponding lower number gun salutes. For example, the vice president or the secretary of defense receives a 19-gun salute.
And it goes down from there.
The number decreases with rank down to 11 to 17 guns for flag officers. They are honoring the office, not necessarily the deceased, with the size of the salute.
Finally, in this section, the majestic saber or sword cordon. The precision starts with sizing the equipment itself.
Sizing is absolutely critical for safety and for visual perfection. It prevents the sword from being too long and hitting the ground or too short and looking weak.
So how is it done?
The correct blade length is determined by measuring from the wearer's eye down to the V between their thumb and their index finger when their arm is hanging naturally at their side. Depending on the specific sword type, you subtract a couple of inches from that measurement.
And that ensures what?
It ensures that when the sword is held at the carry sword position, the tip is perfectly at eye height.
And the formation of the arch itself, the choreography for ensuring the swords don't clash.
The arm is extended straight out from the right shoulder, angled at exactly 45 degrees from the horizontal. The sword becomes a seamless extension of the arm, and the most important choreography rule during the arch formation is that the swords must not touch.
Which requires perfectly synchronized control and standard interval to create that majestic, non-interfering arch for the honorees to pass under.
Exactly.
Let's look now at the broader etiquette and the philosophy that ties all of this technical precision together. The manual addresses command language, and it recommends avoiding one specific preparatory command.
That command is detail. Marshall notes that using detail, as in detail attention, can be counterproductive to a professional unit's image.
Why is that? It seems innocuous enough.
Because historically, in a military context, a detail often refers to an undesirable or unpleasant task that no one wants to do, like mess duty or cleaning duty.
Ah, okay, so using it as a command subconsciously projects a feeling of reluctance or resentment onto the assignment.
Exactly. Marshall advises against any subconscious projection of unpleasant duty. Instead, the manual mandates the use of specific professional designations like bearers, colors, firing party, or guard. It maintains the solemn, professional, and entirely voluntary atmosphere of the honors.
Next, we have to tackle one of the most common myths in American flag protocol, a rule so frequently cited it seems universally true.
The widely held belief that nothing can be above the American flag. The manual dedicates a good amount of space to addressing this, confirming that while it is generally true, there is a very specific, legally protected exception.
And what is the one flag or pennant that may be flown above or to the right of the U.S. flag?
The Christian flag or pennant. This exception is supported by American law protecting religious expression and also by historical military practice.
And the manual gives a specific example.
It explicitly cites the U.S. Navy, which flies a triangular pennant of white with a blue Latin cross at the masthead above the American flag during divine worship service led by the fleet chaplain.
And that specific historical precedent demonstrates that the context of honoring deeply held beliefs sometimes supersedes the standard rule of flag precedence.
It proves that American law protects religious expression even within military regulations.
There's a similar and major misconception regarding the display of the flag at half-staff.
The misconception is that when the American flag is flown at half-staff, which is a temporary symbol of national mourning, all adjacent organizational flags must also be lowered. People think the other flags cannot fly higher than the American flag when it's at half-staff.
But the manual says this is fundamentally incorrect.
It's incorrect. The act of flying the American flag at half-staff is itself a unique temporary honor to the deceased or the event. Lowering adjacent flags to match is considered unnecessary and, in some interpretations, even dilutes the singular honor of the American flag being lowered.
So unless there's a specific local or organizational mandate, lowering other flags is not required.
It's not. The half-staff position is an honor unto itself.
Moving from protocol to the sheer physical demands, the manual includes a section on good-to-know information, focusing heavily on hydration. And this speaks volumes about the physical toll of holding these perfect, motionless positions for long stretches of time.
Standing still perfectly is an athletic endeavor. It is not passive. The manual highlights that 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated, and the performance impact is severe. Even a small 2% drop in body water slows cognitive and physical performance by 10 to 20%.
What does that mean for a guardsman standing in the hot sun?
It means lack of water is the #1 trigger of daytime fatigue. Mild dehydration can cause fuzzy short-term memory and difficulty focusing. If a guardsman is even slightly dehydrated, they're more likely to sway, to lose concentration during a count, or to fail to maintain that razor-sharp line.
So maintaining peak physical condition and hydration isn't just health advice.
It's a mission-critical requirement for the job of maintaining absolute stillness.
Ultimately, all of these intense technical demands, the custom-sewn creases, the 3 taps, the 3-person blousing, the 22.5-degree rotation, they're all tied together by a profound moral commitment, which is summarized in the Honor Guard Creed.
This creed, which is modeled after the USAF Honor Guard Creed, serves as the emotional core of Marshall's manual. It is what elevates every technical standard to a moral imperative. It connects the individual's dedication to the profound mission of respect for the fallen.
There is one line in that creed that, for me, perfectly synthesizes the relentless commitment demanded by this entire manual.
It is the solemn vow that every guardsman takes, regardless of their parent organization. Never will my performance be dictated by the type of ceremony, severity of the weather, or size of the crowd. I will remain conditioned to perfect all movements throughout every ceremony.
That statement explains exactly why the manual has to be so precise. It's not about following rules when it's easy or when people are watching. It's about an unwavering promise of perfection every single time.
What this manual ultimately reveals is that honor is a quantifiable, observable quality. It's conveyed through uncompromising precision. Every fold, every synchronized tap of a metal heel, and every precise distance measured by an elbow is transformed from a mere technical requirement into a professional, universal standard of respect.
The difference between a performance that is good enough and one that is flawless.
Is the difference between simply showing up and truly honoring the memory and the sacrifice of the person being recognized.
The guardsman vows to perform perfectly, regardless of the crowd size or the weather. That commitment to unflinching excellence, maintaining the standard even when the job is tedious or difficult, is the true lesson here. So we challenge you, the listener, to identify one area in your own life or work, whether it's a demanding project, a crucial family role, or a personal goal, where you commit to that same level of unflinching, absolute excellence. Maintain your standard perfectly, even when you know deep down that absolutely no one is watching.
That is how we truly honor the mission of precision.